What if you had a quest where you had to defeat the Daredevil on stage 25, soon to be stage whatever, with Luke Cage? You had to use Luke Cage, or you had to use Elektra to defeat Daredevil. And if you did it 100 times, you would get a Mega Tier 2 ticket. Imagine how epic that would be. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex. And today I want to talk to you guys about something that we do every day in the game, but something that could be improved upon with minor tweaks to make the game a lot more enjoyable every single moment. And it has to do with grinding. It has to do with all of the repetitive gameplay that we engage in when we play RPGs and ARPGs and when we play Marvel Future Fight. You know, we always do our daily quests, our special missions, we do story missions, we do all of these different things, and we do them, you know, again and again and again for very specific rewards. However, aside from those specific rewards, you know, finish the level, you get a chance for a biometric. Finish the level, you automatically get a certain amount of gold. There's also more global rewards that you could be working towards that either happen daily or happen, you know, semi-randomly. So a good example of this is something like the daily challenges, where you do certain rewards, you do specific things, and you get specific other rewards. So even though Villain Siege rewards you with clear tickets, you also get clear tickets by doing it as part of the daily quest. Sending assemble points doesn't actually give you gold, but in this situation for the daily challenge, it does. A different example would be something like the event quest that's going on right now. None of these quests or none of these, you know, different tasks are really related to each other, but they all give you the same reward when you complete them. Even though the two are disconnected, Netmarble has found a way to bring them together. I think the best example of these kinds of global rewards that Netmarble gives us when we do different things in the game is in the special missions in the quest pack that they introduced with the Inhumans update. I think that the quest pack is probably the most interesting way of rewarding farming and rewarding that repetitive gameplay, but it's still very one-dimensional. It's still very non-interactive. Now, I like it because it rewards you for doing different things. It rewards you with different things in the game, different rewards, and then you also have built into the reward system an ultimate reward for finishing all of the other smaller rewards. I can't show you these quest packs because actually as of yesterday I finished all of them. Pat on the back to myself. But you guys can go into your games and you can see what I'm talking about to understand. You know, you find a certain number of hidden routes, you get this prize. You rank up a character to 6 stars, you get that prize. You give this character a mastery, or you level up this character, or you do something else, and you get these different prizes, and then at the end you're working towards some larger, more valuable prize, like a tier 2 ticket, like a mythic uniform rank up ticket, something like that. But the reason why I say these are still fairly non-interactive is because they just require you to press buttons or get lucky. In the case of Spidey's Rogue Gallery, all you had to do was find hidden routes. And the more hidden routes you found, the more prizes you would get. And it was all just cheesy obelisk stuff. So you're just basically getting lucky, or you're going into the store and you're buying hidden tickets with crystals. But it's all fairly one-dimensional. There's really no interaction on the player's part aside from paying with crystals or getting lucky in that situation. In the situation of ranking up characters and those kinds of things, it's, you know, fairly limited in its interaction because all you're doing is building up the bios through selectors or through rank up tickets or through farming, and then you're just going into the menu and clicking a button and boom, I've done it. What I'm proposing, and what I think that Netmarble could very easily implement to make the farming that we do day to day so much more fun, is this. They could tie different kinds of rewards to specific things that you do in the game and specific ways that you would defeat or win or even just run missions. And in part, I do have to say that I did draw inspiration recently from playing Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2. I had never played that game before, but I had picked it up way back when the Sinister Six came out, and I did a 24-hour live stream. My fans there on the live stream, the Twitch Bros, they suggested that I pick up the game on Steam, so I did. And I was playing it, and it was not the most fun game. It was fun at times, but it was a bit boring to just slog through the levels. But what was really fun and what I found renewed interest in the game as I continue to play it is that if you do certain things like defeat a certain number of enemies or do a certain number of combos with another character, you will unlock specific rewards for those specific characters. Now, while Netmarble could also do that for this game, and they could do that in different ways like skill upgrades, uniforms, you name it, there's all different ones, what I'm suggesting is much simpler. So what Netmarble could do is they could introduce a different tab of rewards. The rewards could be daily, they could be weekly, they could be quest rewards that you just complete once and you never have to complete them again. And they could also be reward quests that roll over with difficulty as soon as you finished one. So for example, this amplifying ISO, once I do it 500 times, it's going to give me a reward, but then it's going to reset to the next level, which would be, I don't know, 1,000 or something like that. And they could do this with specific characters, and they could do this in a way that makes even simple farming like story missions fun. So let me give you guys a very simple example. Instead of just running story missions and even clear ticketing them, what if, let's say, Netmarble would give you a 6-star rank up ticket if you ran any mission with Storm as long as Black Panther was also on the team with Storm. Now, if you guys don't know, they have a long history in the comics together. They were married. They have the Wakanda Royals team-up badge. And it's things like this that are very easy to implement. It seems very, interesting to the player because they're seeing these two characters interact, and Netmarble has already encouraged that interaction by creating those speech bubbles that pop up when you're in-game. And on top of that, you just run the stage mission with these two characters and suddenly you're getting additional rewards. And this works on so many different levels. It works for new players because it'll give them an incentive to run these extra missions with characters. It works for veterans because they'll appreciate these kinds of things. Veterans tend to be older players. And it will give them something to do when they've already completed all of the other game content. I don't have any characters now aside from Fandral who I need to actually level up by grinding in missions. Everyone else is at level 60. But I can use these characters now if we had these things in place and have these fun interactions and run through these missions and actually care about the farming that I'm doing instead of just clicking it and walking away to go and drink some coffee or get a pastry, or just clear ticketing it endlessly and then complaining on Mobarum why I don't have enough clear tickets. And this goes so much deeper than just having two random characters or non-random characters team up together. There are so many different things that you could do, and this would actually encourage you to play on auto less. And I wanted to bring this up as a separate issue, but it's interrelated because I did see this as a complaint of a lot of new players recently to the game. The game has gotten quite a bit of advertising, quite a lot of promotion recently, but what I've seen a lot of new players say is that the game seems too easy, that you just auto everything. And I know for veterans like yourself, like myself, we know that the game is not actually easy once you get to end game content like Extreme Alliance Battle, Conquest, tournaments, Shadowland, especially King of the Hill, World Boss Ultimate. The game is by no means an easy thing to do once you're balancing all the different steps and all these different skills and rotations and kiting and Uru and stuff like that. But to make the game much more interesting for new players, and in that beginning stage to that middle stage before you get to the end game, it does require a lot of just auto play or auto plus play or auto plus play, and that can seem boring, that can seem non-interactive, that can make the game look like kind of an idle clicker game, which it's not, but it can give you that deceptive feel because you're just running through and just, oh yeah, he's doing his skills, whatever, I don't care, I'm just watching. However, if they introduced these kinds of things, for example, they could introduce a whole different one where you had to use specific skills a specific number of times. So let's say it would give you 100,000 gold, but you had to use Baron Mordo's 5th skill 100 times. Baron Mordo may never use his 5th skill if you auto him, but if you play with him manually, you can make sure that he's always using his 5th skill. Maybe you just rotate through his 5th skill for the damage and his 3rd skill for the guard hit, and you just keep doing that and keep kiting. What if they had one where you had to use the team up button a certain number of times in a certain game mode? The AI on auto does not use the team up button for team up attacks. There's so many different ways that they can code this and that they can introduce this to us in a way that not only keeps things fresh, not only encourages your large roster to play together and kind of commingle the way that we do with Shadowlands and other large kind of expansive game modes, but it also discourages or downplays the autoplay or the kind of idle clicker aspect that the game can appear to have outwardly, at least when you first start your grind, kind of towards the middle to late game grinding that we players experience even as veterans later on. The list of ideas that I have for this specific kind of quest and for these specific kind of global achievements actually stretches pretty long. I've been thinking about this all day and I just really enjoy coming up with these kinds of ideas. So I want to hit you guys up with a few more, and then I want you guys to let me know in the comments below what kinds of global achievements you would put into the game if you were a developer. So for example, to encourage things like rivalries, you could have a global quest where, let's say, you had to play as Wolverine in the Epic quest and you had to beat Magneto. So it's Wolverine versus Magneto every single time, and you can't use any other mutants or heroes to defeat Magneto. Wolverine has to land the killing blow, for example. Another one you could do could stretch into different game modes, not just story missions or epic quests. You could have one where you have to use specific characters in Shadowland. What if you had a quest where you had to defeat the Daredevil on stage 25, soon to be stage whatever, with Luke Cage? You had to use Luke Cage, or you had to use Elektra to defeat Daredevil. And if you did it 100 times, you would get a mega tier 2 ticket. Imagine how epic that would be. Every week you're going back to Shadowlands and you're building up your Luke Cage, you're building up your Elektra so that you can finally take down Daredevil, and then every week you're perfecting your skills so that it becomes faster and faster, and little by little you see that bar growing to the point where on that 100th day, or 100th week, excuse me, if the game's still open by then, you finally get it. It's these kinds of global achievements that you're working towards in the background that you see building up slowly, that you know there's something awesome coming at the end, that I think would be super simple for Netmarble to implement, but would bring a lot of depth and a lot of fun to this game. It would discourage the autoplay and snooze kind of aspect, and it would really feel more integrated and more lively to have characters interacting with each other, both together and against one another, that I think both new players and veterans could enjoy. And it would also give us more rewards, and who doesn't like that? So let me know what you guys think of my little pet project idea. Let me know in the comments what kind of global achievements you would put into the game if you could. And of course, guys, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.